Pals, and there's also therapy too.
Hi, everybody. Welcome on into Park Pals. Thank you so much for being here. Today, Madi is not with me, sadly. I miss her very much. I know you guys will as well as we move further on, but she did send me a summary, so we're going to get to hear from her a little bit later on. We have so many incredible people that turned up and turned out to show us or talk about parks. So I have a lot of people from last episode season. So this episode is season 6, episode 4, which is our Doppelgangers episode. But the last episode had so many wonderful guest stars, and I'm so excited to share them with you. And I'm just gonna go, one by one. First off, I'm gonna play Jason Duplissea. I think I'm saying that right. Oh my gosh, I might have to re-record. He did even send me the correct pronunciation, so let's just listen to that really quick.
My last name is pronounced Duplissea, by the way. Jason Duplissea.
Okay, hell yeah. Okay, I got it right. I think I said it incorrectly the first time when I was recording the episode that he was on. But anyway, so he sent me something amazing, and I can't wait to listen to that. So let's just go ahead and get started. He's been waiting for a very long time. He sent me these a long time ago, and we just haven't gotten, the scheduling didn't work. So let's go ahead and listen to it now. Thank you, Jason.
I got my audition through my manager and a wonderful casting director named Allison Jones, who was always a fan of mine. I auditioned, I got the role, and I was on set 2 weeks later. I saw that my character had a name, Earl Crunchow, or Cruncho, I don't know how it's pronounced, but even though I had only one line, which I thought was a good sign of possibly returning to be in one of the city hall meetings or for anything later on. But unfortunately, that never happened. I like to think if I had been cast in an earlier season, I would have. I was a huge fan, of course, of the show, so I was thrilled to be on it.
Yes, Earl Crunchow. Oh my gosh, I remember talking about that when we reviewed that episode. And for those that need the reminder, he's the one that was trying to sell Ron the RV, and Ron didn't want to give him the RV. So that's just a little bit of a backstory on that. Okay, let's listen to the next one.
My day on set was great. The director, Nicole, was amazing. I remember after I parked when I first got there and I walked to set, there was the big Little Sebastian sign was hanging on the studio wall. We shot on August 14th, 2013, for those who really want all the details, and we aired in October, of course, October 3rd, 2013. In the makeup trailer, I sat next to Aziz Ansari, and he had his own smock that was purple. So I asked him about it. He said it was his own. And if you notice, during the shoot, I paid extra close attention to where the camera was at all times. So if you rewatch that scene, you'll notice that I'm purposefully always visible in the background, even after my line is over.
Oh my God, I love that tidbit. I need to go back and watch that episode. That is so cool. I can't wait to see that. Oh my God, love that. And I also love the little Sebastian poster. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'd be walking into just heaven if I saw that, the Holy Grail, to see little Sebastian. And yes, we are definitely nerdy over here. We'd love to hear the exact details of when they filmed. So August 14th, 2013. I mean, 2013. That is amazing because we're in August right now. So by the time this comes out, let's see, it'll be August 7th. So almost to the week, like almost to the day, but it'll have been 1 week ago, whatever many years, 2025 minus 2013 is. So that is incredible. I love that detail. Yes, a lot of people don't really understand that. And I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but a lot of people don't think about it, that if you're, releasing something in September or the fall or whatever, you're most likely shooting it in the summertime. So yeah, that's very fascinating. Oh my gosh, love those details, and love Aziz's smock. Oh my God, I might have my own as well. But that's so him. Can you imagine if he had it like monogrammed? That's so Tom too. That's funny.
Lucy Lawless was really interesting. We didn't shoot on the lot. We went to an actual RV parking lot, like an RV sales place. So we drove all in a van together, and she was speaking really loudly about being Xena. I think she wanted me to overhear her and be impressed or something. She also wanted to run lines a lot, all three of us, Nick, Offerman, and her and me. So I would say my line, and then I just stand around and watch them, which was awesome.
Oh, that's fun to just kind of be, a fly on the wall, but also run lines with them. Your run line, I should say, one line. But that's so cool, and cool that she wanted to, just be professional and really run lines. Cool, love that, and love that you got to witness them doing their scene back and forth. So cool. Okay, now let's listen to the next one.
Well, aside from running lines, I didn't really talk to Nick Offerman, but he is exactly how you think he would be. I don't want to fan out or bug people on set. So if I had something organic to talk to him about, I would have. There was someone there who was talking with him about woodworking, which, of course, right? I think Nick was making a dresser or a desk or something, so he wanted to talk about that. And I don't know anything about woodworking, so I just listened in.
Oh my God, I love that. Totally makes sense for him to have been talking about woodworking. Classic. And yes, I've heard that from many people that he's exactly kind of what you think he is. It's taken at face value. So I love that. And for the audience, one of the questions I ask is, it like, did you get to talk or interact or have a conversation or anything with the other stars of the show? So that's the question that he was answering in case anyone was curious. And then I also ask, if there's anything that I didn't think to ask, which I know is very meta Inception-y vibes, but that's also something. So, okay, let's listen to the next one.
Sure. I play bass guitar in a band called Clock Paw. That's all one word, Clock Paw, like a cat's paw. And all of our songs are about 30 seconds long. That's the gimmick. So we have an album that's 17 songs, and it clocks in at about 7.5 minutes. So it's fun. We're at clockpaw.com if you want to have a laugh and rock out.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, I'll definitely have to post that in our show notes so people can take a listen if they want to. What a fascinating idea. Yes, and that was when I asked if you had anything to promote, anything that we should share. Okay, looks like we've got two more.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. You are very comprehensive in your process and your guests. Now that you've had me on, I can't wait to hear you've got on next.
Yeah, so we definitely try to get as many people as possible. And, for those of you who may or may not have been following us for a long time, I did not do this with the intention of always talking to the guest stars. I knew that I wanted to talk to them, and I knew that I wanted to get every single behind the scenes detail. But it has become something that feels like a motivation for me. I feel such a strong conviction to talk to each and every guest star that I can possibly. And a lot of that is personal because I am an actor as well, and I'm auditioning for a lot of these kind of guest star roles that are on these types of shows. So I find it so fascinating to see how you got the audition and how the day was on set and all that kind of stuff. But also, even if you're not an actor, it's just very fascinating to learn about all the different nuts and bolts of who made it. So now I have that in our tagline kind of on Instagram and, just on our show. It's like we specialize in the people that made Pawnee. And so it really makes our podcast so amazing and interesting and so much better to hear from these people. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Oh, that was funny. I didn't realize that was the last one. Okay. Thank you, Jason. That was so cool. I loved all those little details. Thank you for the compliment, obviously. Can't wait for you guys to hear all that. Okay. Thanks, Jason. The next one that we've got is Kelly Hawthorne. This is her second appearance. She was in the first one was in Time Capsule. This was when I had made a comment that she did an amazing job of giving us really cool remarks about her first episode, and so I was not really anticipating a second voice memo, but I'm so glad that she did. And yeah, let's take a listen to what she has to say. She was in the town hall when Leslie is telling everyone that they're merging Pawnee and Eagleton.
Hey Holly, it's Kelly Hawthorne. Thank you for reaching out again about season 6 episode 3, the Pawnee Eagleton Tip-Off Classic. Hey, I'm very humbled. As you know, I was a very tiny part of that episode, but as a Pawnee townie, as I like to call it, I think they did refer to us as townies, right? What I remember most about it was obviously shooting the big town hall scene. was just, the outrage that my little character Jill had, as well as everybody else on both sides of the aisle, whether they were Pawnee residents or Eagleton residents, just the outrage. These two towns that were so diametrically opposite would have to merge and live as one. It's just a great trope, because to me, the comedy of it and why it worked is just how incensed they all were, which of course it's really not that uncommon for something like this to occur. But they were, that's why setting it up for the line of what's next, merging a man with this dog, like they couldn't even wrap their heads around this could be a reality. So that's what's memorable most to me. That's thanks to Alan Yang, who wrote that episode. I'm sure you know that. And Michael Schur, who's one of the co-creators and showrunner, was on set that day. He was wonderful and so kind and down to earth and working really hard, but also not stressed. Like they were A players. I'm sure you know that. You know the show much better than most people at this point, but they were really all, comedy A players in their A game. And that's what I will take from it. As also another very positive memory for me is when we shot that back in 2013, I had actually lost my dad very suddenly and unexpectedly at the beginning of that year. And it was just probably one of the most difficult years of my life, quite frankly. And I can say, looking back now that it's been so much time, getting that unexpected call of having done a small role a couple seasons before that they wanted me to come back was just such a beautiful moment after a hard year for me. And everybody was so lovely. The other thing I can say I remember most was Kristen Bell. I think it was like a 3-episode arc. Her character is representing Eagleton, and she was just so funny, and she is so funny, as evidenced by all the amazing stuff she's done before and since. But she had just come back from maternity leave. In fact, I think it was her first job back after having her first baby. And in the hair and makeup trailer that morning, she was next to me talking about that with the person doing her hair and just how normal and kind she was. It was nice to just see that too for somebody who's just such a super talent. So those are my biggest memories. I hope that helps. Use whatever piece of this you want, delete it down, use just one tiny bit. Always great to hear from you guys. Keep on with the keeping on and have a great rest of your summer.
Oh, that is so nice. Honey, I am keeping all of it. Kelly, that was 3 minutes and 1 second of pure wonderfulness. So I'm keeping all of that. I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. Oh my gosh. But I totally get it. It's like when you're just kind of beaten down and feeling depressed. And so to get that win, I'm sure that was so nice. And especially also to be working, doing your dream job. But not only doing your dream job, but with your dream people that are just so nice and friendly. Oh my gosh, what an uplift. Your dad is so proud of you. Oh my God, that's so wonderful. I love that. And thank you for sharing that with us. I also, yes, love that, you had that line in this episode. She had the, merging your cat with your dog or whatever. I didn't say it right, sorry. But anyway, merging. And then in the other one was about the book. If you guys were not familiar, that was the one where Will Forte was on there trying to get Twilight in the time capsule. And Kelly's character wanted another book in there. I believe it was the David Lee Roth biography, which was like a huge deal to this character. So to have her come back and be so random as a townie, I love that. I feel like our podcast should actually be called like some sort of the townies of Park Pals, the townies of Parks and Rec. But anyway, so yeah, that's so great. Oh my gosh, thanks Kelly so much. Love that. And yeah, you keep on keeping on as well. Thank you so much. Okay, so next we have Poonam, and she did the amazing part of oh my gosh, what was her name? Laura, I want to say. Yes, Laura, who was at the vet school in Bloomington that April ends up not going to. She was the one that showed April and Anne around. And she was really lovely as well and sent in voice memos. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
Hi, Holly. Hi, Maddie. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. So this is actually my very first co-star on television. So this role, this show is extra special to me. I remember the audition. I mean, it was a pretty normal audition. I can't remember if it came from my agent or my manager. I think it came from my manager at the time. I was with Pine River Entertainment. And I had this great manager. His name was Bruce, and he was wonderful. And I remember driving on Wilshire Boulevard to go in person to the audition, back when all auditions were in person. Oh, what a time that was, huh? So I went in, I did my scene. Everything went really well, but I just got really, in my head about everything. And I don't know, for some reason, I just thought I did a really horrible job. And every other person that happened to be in the waiting room was blonde. And I was like, oh gosh. And I don't know why I had this in my head. I was like, there's no way they're going to cast me because, they're not going to have 3 brunettes. They need to have a blonde to balance it out. And I don't know. It was just this weird thing. I think it's so fascinating how actors can get in their heads about things that somehow don't even make sense. I'm thinking about it now so many years later, and I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, that was what I got in my head. I thought I didn't do a good enough job, and I just came home and cried and cried and cried, and I was so upset. And then I got the call from my manager that I booked it, and I was like, huh? What?
Oh my God, what an amazing story. Also, first of all, I'm sorry. I mispronounced your name. I'm so sorry. I will get it right. Oh my God, that is such an interesting and super cool story, and also so relatable. I think even if you're not an actor, you kind of relate to that self-doubt and insecurity of anything really that you're doing, but especially to as an actor, you are like, what? I'm not gonna get this. There's no way. And all of your insecurities keep creeping up, because I don't know, for me personally, I feel like it stems in reality. There are times when you hear these crazy stories of well, they're not going to cast her because she has glasses, or she's not going to cast her because she is brunette, whatever it may be. I feel like those stories are not completely inaccurate, so I feel like your brain just kind of runs away with those little details and is like, that doesn't really make sense, but it could be true, ? And you're kind of taught to have an open mind as an actor too, so it's yeah, I totally get it. It's just, yes, I 100%. So I'm so glad that you got it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I can relate to feeling so upset and devastated after you feel like you just sucked. And I am curious though, if you're listening to this, if you find that you the auditions that you feel really good about, if you don't get them, and the auditions that you feel terrible about, you do get them. For me, it's just all over the place. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't matter. Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. This business makes no sense. But yeah, for a lot of people, that is how it goes. But oh my gosh, that is so great. And a very first role on TV. How exciting. Oh my God, I love that so much. Okay, here is the next one.
Oh my gosh, my day on set was so magical. I had the best day shooting. I was so impressed with how efficient everything was. I mean, that production ran a tight ship. I remember I didn't have a super early call time. It was morning, but not crack of dawn. It was just a normal morning, and I was out by lunch. 3 scenes, just shot boom, boom, boom. And yeah, it was very efficient. Everyone was really nice and kind, and, everything the whole operation was so smooth. And I remember I had a stand-in. It was my first time having a stand-in. That was cool. I was really excited. It was a guy, and I thought that was funny. But, I was like, yeah, cool. That's fine. What else? The only direction that I really remember was they told me not to react to any of the crazy things April was saying to me. And I remember having a really hard time with that because I don't know, Aubrey Plaza's hilarious, and I wanted to react. But yeah, no, it was wonderful, and it was so much fun playing with Aubrey and Rashida, and yeah, I had a really, really great day that day. That was so wonderful.
Oh my God. I love that so much. You are so sweet. Oh my gosh. This is so fun. Yeah. Funny that there was a guy. I laughed out loud at that. Yeah, to see a guy be your stand-in is very interesting to me. Or it would have been really funny to me too. So that's funny. And then yeah, oh my gosh, you did a great job not reacting to Aubrey Plaza stuff. So Maddie and I both talked about that when we reviewed your episode, how it was very, like, okay, like you could tell it was like weird, like you were confused and just kind of, okay, I'm gonna just go along with I'm gonna go with the flow, go along with this, whatever. But yeah, that would have been hard for me too, to not react to the craziness that Aubrey Plaza was doing and the funniness of that. But yeah, I imagine that would be really hard, so well done. Okay, let's listen to the next one.
I was so excited to work with Rashida Jones and Aubrey Plaza. They are amazing actors, and I admire them both so much. And I was definitely like shy and intimidated. I tried not to show it. I don't know if I succeeded or not, but they were both really chill, really friendly, you know, just chill. Like I was overwhelmed with their level of chill. Overwhelmed in a good way, because I was, so not chill. I remember thinking, Aubrey really is kind of like her character April. She has this, like, I don't know, like a mischievous cat-like energy and gaze. Y'all know the look. Y'all know the look I'm talking about. But yeah, she was so nice. She was just asking, she was like, where'd you go to school? And I was like, NYU. And she was like, I went there too. Totally normal conversation, but she kind of had that April Ludgate look while she's doing it, which I was so tickled by. I was like, you're awesome. Rashida was so lovely. She's just so kind. She has great energy and just, yeah, she's like really friendly and sweet. And I think my favorite thing about working with them, especially at the time, as I mentioned, this was a very first co-star. So, it was just great to see how they both just kind of threw away their lines. Like they were just so chill. And, yeah, it was a really great experience. And, being my first one, of course, I was like, oh my God, like the words and the band, like I was so balled up and tense and tight and nervous and excited. But yeah, it was really, really interesting to see how, how they were just like, throwing away their lines. They were just like, and I was like, oh, okay. I see what's going on here. So yeah, it was great to really just observe them in their elements and learn from them.
Yeah. Oh my God. I could totally see how that would be a really interesting thing to learn because, like you said, as when you're young or fresher or whatever, and I think even if you were seasoned, to see them act together, because you got to remind yourself at this point it's season 6, so like they already are not only comfortable with themselves and their characters, but like they know what's going on as far as how this show is run and what they're doing and their career in general. So, well, I mean, that's what it seems like. I'm sure if you ask them, maybe they would have different stories. Like maybe they actually were nervous or something, but I don't think they were. I think it just had that they were so gelled in their environment. So I think that's what's so hard about being a guest star is like it's like you're the new kid at school. You know what I mean? You're coming into this group that already has their shit together and like their cliques and stuff. So it's really cool to hear that all the guest stars felt so welcomed and could just learn and observe from them. But that's a really hard thing to do when you're acting, to just throw away a line and just like not think so much about it, especially like you said, since it's your first one and you just want to impress people and you don't want to waste their time and you want to do a good job and all the things. So I think that it went really well from my end as an audience. So well done. Love that for you. And so cool that you got to see them kind of react to each other and learn from them.
So we actually shot at LA Valley College, if I remember correctly. And it's so funny too, because that was, so many years ago, and I had pretty recently moved to LA, so this was a part of town that I hadn't really explored yet at the time. But now I actually live in the Valley. And so whenever I drive by LA Valley College, I remember that experience and that very first co-star and Parks and Rec. And yeah, it's just a really cool, really special memory.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is really cool. Thank you for telling us the location. We love a location breakdown, so I love that. And to drive by it every time and just have like a nostalgia moment, that's so cool. Love that. Okay, here's the last one where I ask where we can follow her and what we can do to support her.
You can follow me at I am Poonam Basu on Instagram and TikTok. I also have a new poetry handle at Poet Poonam Basu. I just self-published a poetry book. It's called The Holes in My Heart Have Names, and it's available online on the Barnes & Noble site and on Amazon. And I'm working on my next little poetry collection, which will probably be more mental health related. But yeah, I was just in an awesome horror movie that just came out, Screamboat. So check that out if you haven't had a chance yet. And yeah, just chilling, living my life, living the dream.
Yay, that sounds so cute. Oh my God, you're precious. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh my gosh, I will definitely make sure to post a link to all the poetry books and your IMDb so that people can watch out. I am not a horror person, but I'll check it out and like watch the trailer and look at clips of you so that I can just make sure I can handle it. And if not, I will be supporting you from afar, or I'll just speed through and get to your scenes and just watch you. That's fine. Thank you so much, Poonam. I'll definitely post your Instagram as well, and we'll just go ahead and tag you and everything. So make sure you guys follow her. Oh my God, so lovely. These are really good voice memos, you guys. I am so lucky to be hearing from everybody. The last person that we have is Allan, and I am so excited to hear from him as well. He was the reporter that I, for some reason, thought that he was in the episodes before this, but this was his first episode, the Pawnee Eagleton tip-off, where he asks Leslie in the press room a question, and then he's in 2 more episodes later. And I just remember him as a Pawnee reporter. I really do. He really stood out to me. So let's go ahead and give his answers a listen.
Hello, Parks pals. First of all, thank you so much for reaching out about my Parks and Recreation experience. Playing intrepid reporter Trod Frankenstipe and being just a little teensy part of the Parks and Rec universe is something that I really cherish. So how did I get the job in the first place? Well, as I recall, it's one of those very rare and fortunate situations where it was actually offered to me. I had been doing improv and sketch comedy for a while in LA, and I knew a few of the writer-producers from around the way. I was in a sketch comedy group for a number of years with the late, great Harris Whittles. I'm longtime pals with Aubrey Plaza. So people with the show maybe knew me a little, but I didn't really know how the role came my way until I was on set for the episode called The Pawnee Eagleton Tip-Off Classic, which was written by Alan Yang. And when I showed up, Alan told me he just thought of me when he thought of Trod. So there you go. Alan's helping Allans, as they say. But I was very lucky.
I love that. Okay, that's so cute. Alan's helping Allans. That's right. Oh my gosh. Yes, love the character name, by the way. Trod is so funny to me. If you guys haven't listened to the Mike Schur, Amy Poehler podcast, Amy interviewed Mike Schur on Good Hang with Amy. Definitely need to listen to that because it talks all about the character names. So please take a listen. So Trod Frankenstipe, I'm sure, was a Mike Schur invention. But anyway, I love that information. Yes, I knew that he was that you were a sketch guy, so I love to hear it. Super cool, though, that someone thought of you and kind of, had this role for you and that you ended up coming back. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, love these stories. Okay, let's listen to the next one.
being on set for Parks and Rec was a magical experience. I love going to old Hollywood studios. Whenever you get a chance to go on the lot to even audition, much less work, is very exciting for me. Um, and I believe this was shot over at CBS Radford Studios, which is just a really fun and historic studio to go walk around, and just see all the hustle and bustle there. So I did 3 episodes of the show, and all my set days, they all kind of blend together now because it was a while back. But I remember my first day, I was in the makeup trailer, and that's where I met Nick Offerman. He was getting all Ron Swansoned up, and he couldn't have been a nicer, more welcoming dude. He's such a funny guy. And when he was done with his hair and makeup, I remember he hopped up out of his chair and he said to me, "See you in church." And then he was off to set. And I just thought that was great. I love that phrase. See you in church. Every time I did the show, it was just a lovely day on set with very busy, very lovely people. My first episode was directed by Nicole Hollofsoner, whose work I had really admired, and she was really cool. And I just remember walking around the Pawnee City Hall set and admiring all of the silly murals depicting the weird history of Pawnee. Those were great. I also remember my second or third episode seeing Chris Pratt roll up to set in a Ford F-150 Raptor, and thinking, that maybe he got that while he was working on Jurassic World or something. I don't know. I never asked, but just my guess. I think he was shooting Jurassic World and he was driving a Raptor truck, and I thought that was pretty fun and cool.
I think Jurassic World was 2015. That starred Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah, I think that was 2015. But you know what he was shooting, Alan, was Guardians of the Galaxy. So I bet you, or maybe he was shooting. Maybe you could be talking about the next season that you came in, or one of the other seasons that you came in. He could have been shooting that. But for this particular episode, the Pawnee Eagleton tip-off, that was Guardians. So he could have used his Guardians money to buy an F-150. That's for damn sure. I could see that, and that goes along with everything we've heard about him. So yeah, totally. And yes, I love that Nick Offerman story. Oh my gosh, I would have never thought to say that. I feel like if I was in your shoes, I would have been like, what does see you in church mean? But knowing Nick Offerman and just imagining that in my head, it's like you could tell that was just like his energy, and you were just supposed to go with it, kind of thing. So I love that very much. Oh my gosh, that's so great. And love that we've heard magical twice now. Well, in one episode. Everyone else says it's magical too, but to hear that from 2 guest stars in a row, that's amazing. Love that so much. Okay, let us listen to the next one.
As far as my experience on set with Amy Poehler or Kristen Bell, they're both, total pros, and I just did my best to say my line and stay out of the way. They're both incredibly talented, kind people. I don't know either of them personally, but Amy I see around from time to time. We have mutual friends, and I performed and worked at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater for many years, so we've said hello a few times over the years. But when I was on set for the first 2 episodes that I did, I just did my job, and I didn't, chat it up with anybody. Amy and Kristen were very kind, though. They said hi to the gaggle of reporters in the press room before we got started, as I recall. But personally, I kind of saw my role as being a glorified background actor. I'm in, I'm out. I just want to say my little line and not disrupt the flow of the stars of the show. On my 3rd episode, which was called Save JJ's, I was in a slightly more personable setting, I guess. It was a sort of a Charlie Rose type of studio, and it was with Yorma Tacone, and we maybe chatted it up a bit, but again, I was in and out. By the time I got on the show, it was like season 6, so it was just a finely tuned operation, and there's so much happening on shows like this, so many setups they're doing. Every scene I'm in probably took like 30 minutes to shoot the whole thing, and then the cast and crew were moving on to the next setup immediately. So there's really no time to chat. I was just a little guy who was lucky to pop in, say a line, pop out, and hopefully not mess anything up. I do remember in my last episode in the final season, not to spoil anything, but there had been like a time jump, and I didn't understand how far in the future we were, but I was excited because Trod apparently had his own TV show now, so that was fun. And I also remember looking at my hair, which sort of looked like a bowl cut, and I remember thinking, is this like a futuristic haircut in the Parks universe or something? But really, they'd only time jumped like 5 years or something. So anyway, that was my future haircut, I guess.
I love that. That's really hilarious. I'm gonna be real with you. I do know a lot about parks, but I totally forgot that part about you having your own TV show. So I will have to go watch that again, but also I'll have to just keep an eye out for that when we do it. I feel like everything that I know is all the research that I've done thus far, and you know what I mean, meaning season 6 is now my knowledge cap, if you will. However, I do know a lot about it. You know what I'm saying? I just haven't done research on those episodes, so there's no reason for me to really remember that much, apart from what my fan brain already knows. But that's really cool to hear, and I love that so much that it's like this futuristic bowl cut. Love that. Can't wait to see it again. And yeah, I totally understand. I feel like 30 minutes for to shoot a scene is like so lightning fast. Yeah, like I said, with Poonam's stuff, it's a well-oiled machine by this point. They're in season 6. They know what they're doing. The crew knows what they're doing. So that absolutely makes sense. And it's to me, I would imagine it's kind of like whiplashy, where you're just like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm on set. I'm here. I'm doing the thing. And it's just over now. Like Poonam said that she was on set for like 3 hours too, which is nuts. When you have 3 scenes, you know what I mean? So it sounds like there wasn't a ton of like hurry up and wait vibes like there are a lot of the times on TV shows. So love that, and love that you got to just kind of get in, do your thing, and come out. Love that you got called back too. So fun, so fun. Okay, let us listen to the last one.
Thank you, Holly and Madi, for having me on your podcast. It's been such a fun little trip down memory lane for me, and I appreciate your time. I do want to plug a couple of things real quick. My podcast, it's called Walking About with Allan McLeod. That's me. Check it out wherever you get your pods. Also on September 5th, you can see me in a movie called The Threesome. It stars Zoe Deutsch, Jonah Hauer King, and Ruby Cruz, and it's really great. And it'll be in theaters perhaps near you on September 5th. Thanks again, y'all.
Oh my God, that is so exciting. Yay. Okay. Can't wait. Yes, I will definitely add your podcast into the show notes, but also I'll add it to my list of pods to have in the rotation. So can't wait. I did laugh out loud at the Allan McLeod. That's me. Yes, love that. And I love that you said your full name, because I definitely would have mispronounced it. And I'm sorry that you probably get that. Or maybe it's just me, and I'm sorry that I mispronounced it, or was about to. And then, yes, I will definitely also take a look at the Threesome movie. Zoe Deutsch, I love her so much. She's great. So, yeah, thank you so much, Allan, for all of that amazing, all those amazing tidbits, all that amazing behind the scenes info. I'm so happy that I got a chance to hear you, and to everybody. I mean, that was 4 people who just sent in incredible behind the scenes, things that we would not have known. And to hear how well it was run and also how nice everyone is just, I mean, my love for this show and the way that it was run grows every day. And every time I hear this, it just makes our podcast so much better and so much cooler to hear about all this, and makes our fandom grow so much. So I really appreciate all of you, Jason, Kelly, Poonam, and Allan. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you guys, you got to go follow them. I'll tag them. Make sure you're supporting our Park Pals. Yay! All right. So let's go ahead and get started on Doppelgangers. I know that we are really far into it, but let's just get to it. Okay, Doppelgangers aired October 10th, 2013. New writer and director alert, really shaking things up now with the new season coming in. Okay. So we've got this written by Dominic Carey. This is his first Parks episode, but he will go on to direct episode 20 of this season, called 1 in 8,000. And I did have to look at which episode that was, because I was like, literally, what the F? It's the one where they're planning the charity auction with the Chili Peppers guitar and Ben cuts his hand. That's the next one that Dominic writes. And it's for the Unity concert. He'll also go on to direct the Grizzlebox episode in season 7. And he's known for being a writer on Letterman, The Simpsons, which we know, Greg Daniels is, all in that kind of realm, and King of the Hill vibes. Dominic did not do King of the Hill, but The Simpsons he did. New Girl, Silicon Valley. He's also a producer. He was actually a co-executive producer on Parks, actually, and a producer on many of the other shows that he was a writer on. So I did reach out to him, and I would love to hear back from him, because I love hearing from the crew and producers. So would love to chat. If anyone knows him, keep me posted. I am following him now on Instagram, so you guys can find him on Instagram too. All right, this was directed by, I'm going to say Jaime, Jaime, Eliezer Karas. Oh my God. I tried to find how to pronounce it, and without someone actually telling me, I couldn't, but I think he goes by Jay, because that's what all of his IMDb credits say. So I'm just going to call him Jay from here on out. Either way, he is a new director for Parks as well, but he has done a ton of work on everything, including our favorite Abbott Elementary. So exciting. He also directed Ghosts, the American version, a show called Acapulco on Apple TV, which I definitely need to watch. He has also done a ton of stand-up specials as the director of those stand-up specials, and he worked with Oprah Winfrey on her special. So that's fun. What's the next thing? So sorry, I lost my spot. Oh, So Help Me Todd, which is a show that got canceled, sadly, but I liked that show. My mom and I watched it together. But that was a fun one that he also directed. Superstore. I mean, he's directed so many things. So we've got a great team here with Jay and Dominic. Okay, let's get into the summary from Madi.
Hello there. I am sorry to be missing this week, but I will be back for the next one, and I'm still here to give a summary and my thoughts, obviously. So we have Pawnee and Eagleton merging. Here we go. Pawnee and Eagleton merge. The Pawnee Parks Department meet their Eagleton counterparts and have their own special interactions. Anne drops an emotional bomb on Leslie, who proceeds to spend the rest of the episode processing this new information in her own way. And Ben and Chris get their budget-saving duo back together. So, I love this episode. I'm actually very, very sad that I'm missing this episode, but it's just gold. The guest stars that we have here are amazing, many who have gone on and done other things. And so, very exciting. I'm very excited to hear, Holly, all of your deep dives on these people. Tinnifer. Where I know her from, actually, this actress is from New Girl. She plays Jess's lesbian gynecologist. And so this is really fun to see. Like, she plays just completely 2 different people, and she does such a great job here of you really just like, I don't know, hate is not the right word. Like, I feel like you can't hate Tinnifer. You're just like, oh, honey, oh no. She reminds me, I feel like they really leaned into like the housewife vibe for her. And which is really funny because she later says that her husband's in prison, which I feel like does not fit it fits the housewife thing, but it doesn't necessarily fit like what our picture of Eagleton would be. So it's just fascinating. But yeah, I think the actress does a wonderful job. And their interaction with April is just so funny because they're complete, like, opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Whereas, like, the Rons, they don't feel as opposite. Like, they don't, like, when you interact with them, if they're not, like, talking about their beliefs, they don't feel so separate. Whereas, like, their outward, Tinnifer and April, the way they are outwardly to everybody, regardless of what they're talking about, is very, very different. April, like, just leaning into this and being a different person is, I feel bad for Tinnifer because I feel like she feels like she's making a friend and she's, like, confiding in her, but I also don't know how fake she is, you know? I don't know. It's a very interesting interaction for me. The two Rons, I love that. And he's gone on to do, I think he has his own show right now, or he did have his own show. I feel like it was called The Ranch, but I can't be 100% certain. But yeah, so he's done things as well. I love that he comes back later in the show to give Ben advice. And I love that they think that they're going to hit it off in the beginning, and then just their beliefs are just so all over the place. But I think he does a wonderful job too of playing that stoic, calm person, kind of like Ron is. Except he keeps his composure when he realizes that they don't agree on things. Craig has to be my favorite. I love that they chose to keep him. That's just, I think it's so wonderful. And he brings a different dynamic to the group for sure. I'm almost wondering if they needed to fill the hole of Andy. I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on that. But part of me is like, did they need somebody like crazy, but in a different way? Because like Andy is like crazy and he does crazy things, but you're like, he just doesn't know better, you know? But here's a different crazy, right? Where he's just like, he is too much. One of my favorite scenes in this entire thing, in this entire episode, is when he and Donna are having the call about the Bermuda grass, and it's just so funny to me that he takes the phone, he handles it so, like, you look at him and you're like, he's so good at his job, but also like, calm down, you know, like you don't have to be that aggressive about it. But my favorite line is when Donna takes the phone back and she goes, yeah, hi. Is there a medication that you may have had too much of or not enough of? And I just love her delivery. Retta's delivery is just pure perfection. And I love it. Absolutely love it. And then we have Evelyn, who I feel like is just a less fun version of Anne. I don't know. Like, I think the actress did a great job here as well. I forgot to say Craig has obviously been in other things. He's also been in New Girl. But I think it's, for Evelyn, it's like, she's smart, she's capable, it's obvious that, like, you know, she's put together, obviously from Eagleton, but like Anne is put together as well. But the difference here being that, I don't know, she just seems a little less fun. I don't know how else to put it. Well acted. And then Eric, which cracks me up. For me, part of me was like, okay, I get this a little bit because Tom is like coming hard off of losing his company, which is so sad. And so he's leaning into this government position again. But at the same time, it's like, this would be a good opportunity for him to kind of be pushed out of the Parks Department again, to follow his entrepreneurial spirit and find the next thing for him. But I do get it. I do get that he's like probably not ready to fly yet. I mean, if it was me, my ego would probably still be a little bruised. So maybe that's why. The Leslie and Anne thing for me, I get where Leslie's coming from. I feel like I just moved so much as a kid. Like, I was the one doing the moving a lot, that I kind of just, I think it's easier for me to be like, oh yeah, so you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to forge ahead. And, you know, I'll support you through that. And that's kind of just how how I've always been, but I get it. Because when your like best friend leaves, your confidant, who you get to see every day, leaves, like when you left Holly, you left college, like we knew it was coming, right? We always knew you were going to move to LA from college, but it's still hard to, see your best friend go. So I think the emotions that most of us have around learning that a friend is moving, especially a friend that we're that close to, I feel like we have those emotions in our head, like within minutes of being told. Like we go through the anger, denial, oh my gosh, I hate this. And then we come out of it and we're supportive, whereas it's taking Leslie an entire day to process all these emotions. And then Chris and Ben is just cute to me. I feel so bad that Ben has to always be the bad guy. I like that I hope it looks like he kind of likes being the bad guy. I definitely feel bad for him because Chris is like, everybody be happy. And he's like, you're all fired. So I love that we get to see them again. And it really gives us a really good view of a full circle, right? Like we're learning that Chris and Anne might leave, and this is how they got here, is they came to fix Pawnee's budget, and this might get to be like the last thing they do together too. And so it's a really beautiful way that I feel like the writers are starting to close out Anne and Chris's chapter. So, and then Ben took the information a lot better than Leslie. I wonder if his immediate thought was like, oh crap, I better go check on Leslie. Yeah, so sorry that was a ramble there, but those are my thoughts and feelings on the episode, and I'm excited to hear back what you guys thought.
Yay, thank you. Yes, I have a lot of thoughts on everything that you just said, and I'm sorry if if the editing is not going to cut out all that wind, because I am not as great of an editor to get everything out. But thank you for sending in that summary. And yes, both of those people are new girls. Sam Elliott was famous long before Parks and Rec, and has done so many other wonderful things. Moving on, you probably recognize him from A Star Is Born as well, the newer version. But I have all that breakdown and more. And yes, everything you said I agree with, and have notes to respond to as we get into it. Okay, so we start this episode with a historic moment. Eagleton ceased to exist and was reabsorbed back into Pawnee, just like back in 1817. And if you need a reminder on the history of Pawnee, remember, they were all one town, and Leslie talked about how the rich people of Pawnee took their money and started Eagleton. So now we're back to where we started, and it's definitely in for a ride, that's for sure. It seems very chaotic, but they're just doing their best here. I loved Leslie's line of, it's the same just like it was back in 1817, except for we no longer burn women for learning arithmetic. She's a witch because she knows math. Oh my gosh. So now Leslie and Chris are running the logistical side of things, and Chris says that Leslie is the merger czar, and they're looking at the department that most matches the Pawnee department. So the two departments that Pawnee does not have / could not find an equivalent for was the infinity pool design and the Department of Dressage, which is apparently some fancy horse riding thing, Leslie thinks. Alonzo comes out so offended from Eagleton. It is horse dancing, madam. That was really good. I loved that actor. He did a great job. He is played by Sullivan Jones, who has been in a ton of things. A new show called Interior Chinatown on Hulu. He's been on Atlanta, The Gilded Age, Halston, Elsbeth, Critter Fixers, Country Vets, which is a show that I thought looked super fun. He was the narrator of that on National Geographic, so definitely want to check that out. A lot of other super cool things. And he's done a ton of theater as well, so well done. Glad that you had this one tiny line. You did so much with it. I love it. Okay. So now we are in the Pawnee Parks Department, and there are boxes everywhere because of all the new things and people and paperwork. And Leslie is going over everyone's counterparts. And then she says she has a surprise. And Jerry is the new filing temp. He's being brought out of retirement for this. Oh, dear, Jerry. Oh, I want Jerry to be here, obviously, for the show's purposes. But Jerry... when he says that he was on a cruise and he told Gail to put away her bikini or whatever. Oh, dear. Jerry, you love this way too much. He might love it more than Leslie in a way or in a different way. Anyhow, everyone's mad about Jerry coming back, but, He asks to be called by his real name, which just sparks this next level of Jerry lore. Jerry can't even remember his own name, essentially, though, and April makes a joke that his name is now Larry. So, oh dear. So it's Jerry, Larry, and Gary, I think, are the three that we have. We haven't gotten to Terry yet. Leslie says they do have to lose some people and that they will be making some really hard decisions because they can't keep everyone, obviously. So they've really got to do some figuring out. She has her board. She's trying to make some, tough decisions. So Chris and Ben are doing their thing with the new Pawnee people, a.k.a., the old Eagleton people. He's throwing a birthday party, and this is kind of what we were talking about with Ben and Chris being good cop, bad cop. And we had talked about this in the last episode where we were like, where is Mean Ben? And this is where he is. This is finally where he is. He came back, and I forgot that he did this when I talked about how he wasn't Mean Ben like he was with Pawnee, where he was like, you effed up the town, this is your fault. He's doing this now with Eagleton, which I really need to see. I hate that I had to wait for it, but I needed to see it because I needed Ben to treat Eagleton people just as terribly as he treated Leslie when he was doing the government budgeting and finance and all that kind of stuff, auditing then. So thank you, writers. I do appreciate that. Thank you. And it also kind of is nice to see that nostalgia too, to kind of bring them back together and to show this part that we haven't seen for a while. Like, you're all amazing, you're all fired. Yeah, so that was really cool to see that, and to just be reminded of what their dynamic used to be. The one guy who said you're not as nice as the other guy, the Eagleton fella, he was also in the last episode, but he didn't have any lines. So that's really cool that he got to come back for this. His character name is Horatio, and he is played by David Sanford. He was in the movie Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie. Also Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. We love that movie with Tina Fey. A bunch of other things. He's also a writer. I really love that. And then he also had a deleted scene, so I'm going to play that for you really fast because I thought it was funny.
Listen, I'm going to take off.
We're not even close to being done.
Yes, that's why I'm leaving. And my family's still quite wealthy. And Mr. Monopoly was loosely based on my grandfather. So, work's more of a hobby for me. Bye.
He was Eagleton's main accountant.
We don't need him. Got all their spreadsheets and I'm in a zone.
All right.
I love that. That's so Eagleton, I feel. To say, like, well, my family's already wealthy anyway, so work is just a hobby. And based on Monopoly, oh my God, that's really funny. And I love hearing, like, Ben's kind of, I don't know, it's almost sensual, the way that he says it. I'm in the zone, And I just love how intense with this he is and how much he loves it. But also, yeah, Ben's right. We had to cut the budget anyway, so I'm sure Horatio's salary will be just fine to not have that. Okay. Anyhow, so now Jerry is leaving a message with the new name, like he's just going along with it. You know what I mean? He doesn't even care. Oh my God, Jerry. It's okay. Yeah, this is where he talks about the cruise ship part. And there was an old banana in the file. Like, the hits just keep coming, man. Oh, Jerry, I pray for you. Okay, so now we're meeting all of the Eagleton people. We're meeting Craig, who is played by Billy Eichner. You probably know him from Billy on the Street, where he basically goes up to people and screams at them. And if you don't know that, you should definitely check that out. They're all on YouTube. He's done it with some really famous people as well. And that's what he was doing kind of primarily before Parks. And I think he had a lot of other stuff going on as well. But it's just a funny, like, he played himself. He kind of played Craig in a way, I feel. And where he just kind of runs up and screams at them in a comedic way. And he also played Timon in oh my gosh, Lion King. Why did I just blank on that? Wow. And then the Angry Birds movie after this. He's also in the movie Bros, which I need to watch. He also wrote that with Nicholas Stoller, so I definitely want to check that out. It looks really funny. And before Parks, he was also doing like a bunch of sketch shows and stuff like that. So he was definitely out there. I don't think it was as many like named things that I remember. So that's so cool that he got to be on Parks. And he later goes on to be on the show Difficult People, which was produced by Amy Amy Poehler's production team, so that's really cool. Like Madi mentioned, he was also in an episode of New Girl. He also did Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt after Parks as well, and American Crime Story, like a ton of things. He's done a lot of stuff. And I researched kind of how they got him on the show. I did this with all of the people, but I don't know. I didn't get a ton of answers for everybody, but for Billy Eichner in particular, Craig, apparently he got the job on Parks and Rec because Mike Schur messaged him out of the blue on Twitter. He was getting a lot of traction with Billy on the Street, his YouTube channel, and Mike Schur and some other Parks people were super into it, and he was like, yo, I think we might have a role for you. I'll post that article so that you guys know that I'm not just making that up, but yeah. Very interesting. Love that. I do remember when they did the reunion in, 2020, he was kind of bitter that he didn't get to come back, which, yeah, I do get it, but I feel like he might have taken it a little far, like constantly posting about it. But I do get that I would be upset too. I don't know that I would have posted on Twitter about it, but yeah. But I'm so glad that he did have the time that he had. I do love that. I love that he's like intensely nice. You know what I mean? He's intense on someone else's behalf. You know, like for Donna, he's really sticking up for her. And it's not like he's just being mean for the sake of being mean. He's really trying to, protect someone, which I love. Anyway, so he meets Donna, and again, like I said, he's very intense, very fast, and I love that he says, "Oh my God, that is the perfect name for you. Never change it." Donna's like, "Wasn't gonna." Then Donna says she's basically the office manager, which I think is a really cool reminder for us. We haven't really been reminded of her job title, even though we know that she's a boss and that she does so many wonderful things for the Parks Department, and she's amazing in her own personality and everything. I think it was really cool to be reminded of that. So we hear that. And then this is where April meets Jennifer. So exciting. Oh my gosh. So to answer Maddie's question too about, how she got the role and all these things, I don't necessarily have an answer to how exactly she got the role. Like as far as it wasn't a Twitter message like Billy Eichner, but she has so many connections to this show. So many people that she has either worked with before or after. So let's get into that. First of all, she's played by June Diane Raphael. I knew her long before she was on Parks and after. But she is an amazing actor, like Madi said. I love her so much. Right now she has a podcast actually. And you guys should definitely check that out. It's called The Deep Dive. But anyway, first of all, she is of Grace and Frankie fame, which, side note, I think I talked about this because Alex Hardcastle, which was one of our fave director episodes that we ever did, he directed an episode of Parks, and he also directed a lot of Grace and Frankie. And Grace and Frankie was no longer on the air. It had closed its seasons and is no longer doing new episodes. So we were kind of talking about that. So that's one connection. And some people, like Madi, also know her from New Girl. She's on quite a bit of those. And she is super funny, super different role. Love it so much. And for New Girl, J.J. Philbin directed a lot of, and she is married to Mike Schur. So that's a second connection. Love that. She also, like I said, has a podcast called The Deep Dive, which is great, with Jessica St. Clair. That's her co-host. And Jessica St. Clair was also in Parks and Rec many moons ago. Great podcast. Got to get back into listening to that. I kind of fell off because of all of the world, but I want to start listening again. But anyway, Jessica St. Clair, her co-host of the podcast, played the mom of the girl that Ron eats the lunch of, and says and you gave her a landmine? That was Jessica St. Clair, and them two, her and Jennifer, June Diane Raphael, host a podcast together. So fun. And then the other connection that I probably should have started with, but is that she's married to Paul Scheer, who played the Kaboom It guy back in season fucking 2 or something like that. I want to kaboom it. Who runs away on a boat. That was Paul Scheer. They're married. So amazing. And with him, she does a podcast as well called How Did This Get Made? About I don't want to say bad movies, but yeah, they're bad movies. And so her, Paul Scheer, and Jason Mantzoukas, a.k.a. Dennis Feinstein, host that. And they go on tour, and it's super fun. And so that was another connection. She also knows Dennis Feinstein. Crazy. And then she also, the more recent one, she plays on Abbott Elementary a handful of times. And she's really great and so funny. I'm so glad she got to be on this show. And it's just like so wild. So, I mean, I think it just proves that if you're in this like world, you are in the comedy world, it's a small community. It's a small circle sometimes. But also it just proves how amazing she is too. So love that so much. And I also love that it's Tinnifer with 2 Y's. So perfect. First of all, I kind of thought that she meant Tinnifer like T with 2 Y's, TYYNNIFER, but it's Tinnifer with 2 Y's, meaning 1 Y at the beginning and the Y at the end. So TYNNIFYR, which I know is not important, but I think that's funny. It's Xanax o'clock. Oh my gosh, I love this. And I love that April immediately gloms onto this and just mirrors her. And it's so great. I love it. And yes, I totally understand what Madi is saying as far as the not going with the housewife thing for the husband to be in jail. But I'm imagining it's like a blue collar jail, or white collar jail, I guess you could say. Like maybe her husband was for like tax evasion because he's a rich dude or something like this. Maybe. I don't know. Love that. Tinnifer is so Eagleton, and April so loves her, and I love this, especially the line of, she's the worst person I've ever met. I want to travel the world with her. Oh my God, traveling the world with her would be a trip, that's for sure. Then we've got Ron meeting Ron. Oh my God, so exciting, so obsessed. Sam Elliott is here. You know him, like I said, from The Star is Born, 1883, which is, Taylor Sheridan stuff, who did Yellowstone. That's all kind of, related, prequels, sequels, all that kind of stuff. And yes, he was in The Ranch, like Madi said in her summary, with Ashton Kutcher and a couple of other people. To be honest, it was not my cup of tea. I didn't think it was that great of a show. It was very cheesy sitcom-y vibes. And but that's what's so wild is that I love Ashton Kutcher and I love Sam Elliott. I think they're good actors. But that show wasn't it for me personally. But yes, he did do that. Yes, he's very, Western kind of vibe actor. Before this, he was in, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which I think is hilarious that Ben and Chris called their team, their accounting auditing bro team, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I love that little crossover. That's fun. Sam Elliott was also in Roadhouse, Tombstone, all the Western movies you could ever think of. Also, he was in Grace and Frankie too. Like I said, June Diane Raphael, a.k.a. Tinnifer, was in. So that's a fun crossover. He played Jane Fonda's love interest, Grace's love interest. So that's really fun too. That would be a power couple. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, I was going to say, I found an interview with Sam Elliott on YouTube from the channel Red Eye Chicago. I'll post it in here, where they talked about how both Nick Offerman and Sam Elliott had this like masculine energy, but they also really love the musicals, and they get into really, really deep thoughts, things that aren't typically masculine at face value, but I think it's masculine but just in the case of society, you know what I mean? But he did talk about being on Parks and Rec, and I thought that was really fun. So let me see if I can find that clip for you.
I think that Nick's the reason that I was on that show, I think. And it was that Doppelganger episode, in the beginning. And I think it probably boiled down to, so whose mustache do you want if I can talk about in this scene or something? Get Elliott, he's got a good mustache. I don't know. But I've since developed quite a nice relationship with Nick.
Yay, that is so fun. Oh my gosh. I know that was just a tiny clip. You guys should listen to the whole episode. He talks a lot about other things and other movies he's in. But I thought that was really interesting to hear him speak about that. Because like I said, I did try to research how everybody got on the episode. So that's just what I found. I also found clips of him reciting songs, but kind of as poetry. He just reads lyrics. And one of them was Lady Gaga, which he does on Colbert. So amazing. And he does so many voice acting things as well for commercials. But in that interview with Colbert, actually, he talks about how he was a construction worker and in the National Guard, and he had a friend who knew an agent, and they set him up with a meeting, and that agent told him that he needed to do something about his voice and lose the Southern accent And oh my God, look where he is now. I'm so glad that he didn't follow that agent's advice, because amazing. He's so good. And that voice doesn't even seem real half the time. Like, I don't know how he was born with his voice that low. So I'll post that in there. It's so fun. I love Ron Swanson's moment of "I like Ron." Ron likes Ron. It's so perfect they gave him the last name of Dunn, too. Are you done speaking, or is that your last name? Both. And it starts out so well because Ron Swanson is very, very similar to Ron Dunn, where they don't say too much. They just say enough, and they're vibing. And I love their smiles to each other. It's so, so cute. Okay, so then we get to Tom. Oh my God. We learned that his equivalent, Eric, is actually a computer. The Eagleton Reservation Information Center is what Eric stands for, and it does all the scheduling. And this is so intense and, very parallel to what we're going through now, because now everything is becoming automated and people aren't doing jobs, and like actual people, aren't doing jobs, and scheduling is 90% of Tom's job. Oh no. And it reminded me of Pam in The Office too, when they wanted to get automated phone services, and she was like, that's like my whole job, So, and that's just, salt in the wound to say that Tom's fashion sense is off. Like, what is this, 1990? That explains the shoulder pads. Oh my God, what a cut to the throat. Gut punch for Tom to be having fashion insults, This guy did such a great job. Oh my gosh, fast, cutting to the point, just like really into it. It just, oh man. Rajiv, which is the IT guy, is played by Aly, and he has been in Will and Grace, Silicon Valley, Grey's Anatomy. Oh my God, so many things. And he will come back next season, actually, in the anniversaries episode, which is so fun. And Aly sent us, I'm not saying your last name, Aly, because I'm going to butcher it, and Lord knows that we don't need that to happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with your voice memos. How exciting! Okay.
So I got the role of Rajiv through an audition. I've been with my manager, Todd Zeller, since 2008, and in 2013, I was working with Barbara Pollins, who sadly has since passed away. She was at the Glick agency, and she would eventually take it over from Steve Glick, but she sent me an appointment for it. And the sides were the same scene that you see in the episode. I don't believe there were any changes, and I was auditioning on tape with the casting director, Dorian Frankel, who worked out of the Samsung building at the time, if you're familiar with Los Angeles and places where actors audition. And so I went on tape with Dorian, and that tape was sent off to producers. Now, I love auditioning with Dorian because she is just such a good actor. She makes it really easy to audition with. Now, this audition was so long ago, August 2013, so I had to go through my old emails to kind of refresh my memory. But I went into the room, I did 3 takes, and on the 3rd take, Dorian had me improv with her. And I can't remember what we improv'd, but I remember feeling pretty good about the audition. I just wasn't sure if I was the guy. But I didn't have time to sit around and think about it for too long because I was leaving town the next day with Marie, my then girlfriend, now wife, and I was going to meet her family for the first time. So I think I was a little more preoccupied with that. The introduction to the family went well, well, at least it wasn't disastrous because we're married now and nobody objected at our wedding. But a week after the audition, Barbara emailed me that I was the choice for the role.
Oh my God, I love all of that information. So funny. Yeah, you weren't even thinking about the audition. You were so in your headspace of I've got to meet my girlfriend's parents that I want to like make a good impression with and hopefully maybe marry one day, ? Oh my God, that's wow. Lots of stress. Glad it all worked out and that no one objected. Sorry about the lady who passed. Oh my gosh, from the Glick agency. That's yeah, tough. So, wow. Good to I didn't know that. And yes, we've heard great things about Dorian. I really would like to get her on the podcast. I would love to talk to her about, because she does like pretty much all the guest stars, I feel. And every person that has had an audition in person with her has said great things about her and how she makes it really easy. You feel like you're in the scene with her and she's not just reading the scene or reading the lines rather, and you're trying to like up the ante so that you feel like you're the only one in the scene. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. I love hearing that. And I love hearing all the BTS about the audition, man. Like 3 takes, improving. Yes, I know that a lot of people are asked to improv in that audition setting, which can be scary if you're not prepared. So that sounds like it was great. Love that.
So after the audition, I went to meet Marie's family. And then the following weekend, we went to Vancouver to introduce Marie to my family. So I was really hoping the shoot date didn't conflict with our trip to Vancouver. But I think I was really stressed about the show, about meeting Marie's family, her meeting mine, because I started getting a cold sore on my lip. And I was so nervous that they'd fire me, which sounds ridiculous. I know, but that's what I thought at the time, which, I mean, people have been fired for less, so it made sense in my mind. When I get cold sores, I usually take L-lysine pills, but it wasn't working. So I went online to find some home remedies for it, and I think I tried some really weird shit. Oh, can I say that on here? Should I say stuff? I don't know. Anyway, you can edit this out. I tried some really weird stuff. So when the L-lysine wasn't working orally, I crushed it up and mixed it with water to make a paste with it and smeared it on my lip. But the cold sore kept getting bigger. So I tried another remedy and I made another paste with like toothpaste or something, and I smeared it on there. I was just so scared and felt so disempowered. It was early in my career, and the life of many actors is auditioning if you're lucky, and rarely getting work. So when you get a job, it can feel kind of tenuous and like it could be taken away at any moment for whatever reason. A cold sore, saying free Palestine, or just whatever. Anyway, while I was in Canada, I decided I'd keep growing my facial hair. And when I showed up to set, I told hair and makeup about it and how freaked out I was that I'd get fired and they'd recast me. And they were so nice and said, "Oh, I can barely see it." But I could see it. And that was the biggest problem. I feel like hair and makeup have not just the talent that they're hired for and the skills that they're hired to do, but to perform, but they also have the temperament of a therapist and probably witness a lot of vulnerability from actors on their best and worst days. So I feel like they should get a lot of respect and props for that. Anyway, I wish I could remember her name, but she put some makeup on it and it was totally fine. Makeup can do amazing things. Now, before I went to shoot, I had a fitting with wardrobe. I think it was on a different day. I think it was maybe the day before or 2 days before. And I can't remember her name either, but I remember she asked for my input on Rajiv's wardrobe. Like what felt most like my character to me. And I was so surprised that they wanted my input, but it made a really big difference to me because now I knew that one person cared about what I thought and treated me like I was an artist with a valuable contribution to make. They gave me some options. I tried them on, and I told them which one I felt was most Rajiv-ish or made me feel most like Rajiv. And I'm pretty sure like 90% sure that when I arrived on set on the day of the shoot, it was the outfit that I had mentioned, which was a nice feeling and helped me that day, because I felt valued and I felt like I was heard and seen and listened to. The episode was directed by Jay Karas. I hope I'm saying it right. And I was a little nervous about the improv part because I can improv. That's how I originally started acting, but I'm not an improv actor. So he said they would usually do a couple takes the way it was written, and then they'd do one more for fun, and if I wanted to play in that take, that was cool. So I remember on the last take, Jay told me that this was the one I could play on, but I didn't have to, and I was so nervous that I didn't do anything different, and I really regretted it. I mean, at least try something, you know? It's too late to fire me now.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh. I totally hear what you're saying, though, to not want to like rock the boat. I feel like we always talk about that with the guest stars and everything, so I totally get it. But I mean, maybe you could look at it like a learning experience, which I'm sure that you did, you know, to play around next time. But I know, and being nervous and all that kind of things, but whatever. They wrote it correctly. They wrote it well. So it's like, I also understand that inclination to maybe not want to mess with it, you know? Yeah. Also, first of all, I wanted to mention that you have a very calming voice. Aly has a very calming voice. I felt like, compared to my chaos and speaking really quickly, I feel like it's very settling. I feel like I can take a deep breath when I listen to these voice memos. So just letting everyone know that. And I will say, oh my gosh, the cold sore. It doesn't sound ridiculous at all that you thought you could be fired for this. That was what I said about Poonam's voice memo as well, because in a way, like you said, people have been fired for worse. You hear these stories of people getting fired, or like, you know, they didn't hire her because of X, Y, or Z, which in your head, you know, logically is stupid and probably isn't true, but it could be true. There's that possibility, because you hear these stories about this insane thing and this business doesn't make sense. So I absolutely understand the you know, desire to get rid of it as fast as possible. And yes, you can curse. So I should say that. That's actually a good reminder. I should tell all I don't even say that in my emails to the guest stars. I should tell them that. You can absolutely curse. So I will not be cutting that out. If you are a friend, a watcher / fan of Friends, it reminded me of Ross with his leather pants when he tries to make a paste to get his leather pants to come back up, and it's like lotion and baby powder and all the things. So, oh my God. At least it didn't happen on the day that you were on set, or like in the makeup chair. You come in and it's like you just have gunk all over your face. So that's good. And yes, love the makeup team. I think that you're right. They have such skills, but they're also very therapeutic. People say that all the time. They have great conversations in the makeup chair and hair, that kind of stuff. That's lovely. And we loved your outfit. I think that's great. And the outfit was such an important piece of it, because your line is making fun of Aziz's, Tom's shoulder pads. So I think that was really important. And yeah, it makes such a difference to feel like you're seen and heard, and that you're seen as an equal that's also contributing to, you know, this project. I love that. Okay, next one.
My scene was with Aziz, but I really didn't spend much time with him. I met him very briefly beforehand, and he was really nice. Someone introduced us a few minutes before we shot together, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but I had a hand injury at the time, and it just started to heal. And every time I shook someone's hand, it kind of exacerbated the injury. So when I got introduced to him, I wanted to give him a fist bump because of the injury, but he was going for a handshake, and then I felt like I was being rude, so I went to give him a shake, and then it was like a weird loose grip because of the injury, and then I felt like I needed to explain the awkwardness, and I started with, sorry, I'm not shaking people's hands right now because, and then he thought I was going to say that I was sick, and he like recoiled a little, and I don't know, it was very, very awkward, but I feel like I remember his hand being very soft, like very soft. I could be misremembering, but that's the way I remember it.
That is so funny. Oh my god. Oh wow. The things you remember, Oh my gosh, that is so hilarious. And I could absolutely see his hands being soft because he moisturizes and probably has a bunch of different okay, that's Tom, not Aziz, but but for the sake of lore, it's fun to imagine him having all his amenities that he has in his apartment that we see in another season. But anyway, oh my god, I love that. And yeah, I could absolutely see that. Oh my gosh, and could you imagine if that happened during COVID or like after COVID or something like that, where people are like, you recoil and you're like, no, I don't want to get anything. Oh my god. But yeah, and then not having the time to explain, and it's just like weird, and you feel rude because a fist bump is so not friendly. It's like, yeah, I mean, it can be friendly, but it's like, it's not normal. It's like something different. Anyway, oh well. I love that story.
Looking back, I think it's so funny what a small world the entertainment industry is. I shot this episode of Parks and Rec, and a few years later, I shot a commercial with Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally, and then shot an episode of Will and Grace, and Megan Mullally recognized me at the table read from the commercial. Donna Carey, who wrote the Doppelganger episode of Parks and Rec, later wrote an episode of Silicon Valley, which I had a recurring role on.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Yes, I did mention Silicon Valley, so that's really cool to hear that there were all these connections. Yes, I just mentioned that about how small it really is with June Diane Raphael's connections. And how everyone, but it's so wonderful that everyone is so talented, and yet they're still in this like small, amazing circle. It's not like people are just getting these roles because they're connected. It's like they're all so good, and then you meet friends and, continue down the line. It is a smaller circle than people think it is. That is for sure. Seeing the same people at auditions and on set, and that's really nice that Megan Mullally recognized you. Nice that you did a commercial with Nick. I love that so much. So fun.
So I thought about some projects that I'd like to promote right now, but instead of promoting myself, I want to use this opportunity to talk about what's happening in Palestine right now. Because honestly, I spend a lot of time thinking about it, watching it happening live on my phone, thinking about how it could easily be me. I look at the men and women and children who are starving there, who are being shot when they try to collect food aid, who are being stripped of humanity and dignity, and we're seeing it on our phones in real time. Families, mothers, fathers, children, doctors, artists, teachers. I see myself in them. I see my son in the children's eyes. I see my wife in the mother's eyes. We're no different from them. It's only through luck that we have the privilege that we have. Those people were born Palestinian, and because of that, their fate is very different from ours. So I think a lot about this. And then I look at what's happening here in America, where immigrants who are a vital part of the fabric of our daily lives, who are contributing members of our society, who pay taxes, are being targeted, abducted, and disappeared without due process. The people who've come into the country legally and are asylum seekers and are playing by the rules are having those programs ripped out from under them. And then protesters, peaceful protesters, are being met with violence and arrested for exercising their First Amendment right. And I don't have a solution or an answer to all this, but it feels like we're going in the wrong direction. And I don't want my country to be complicit in any of this. I don't know if you'll keep this part of the interview in, but I think it's important, and it's an American issue because our country is complicit in the atrocities being committed. and we're supplying the weapons and means to kill Palestinians. And yours and my tax dollars are funding this genocide, these human rights violations. And it's not okay. It's time to end it.
Oh, Aly, thank you so much for that. Yeah. Oh, I'm keeping that in. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, absolutely. I talked about this on the first episode of season 6, where I was like, now, we're going to talk about our country, because not only are there parallels between what's happening in parks sometimes and what's happening now. Obviously in parks it's way different because it's fiction, but it is, like, I just was basically giving a disclaimer that if you can't listen to that, then, you know, that's your choice and you can sign off. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that we do need to be talking about this. In fact, it's a great point that you bring up, and really lovely that you shared your time to speak up about this, because there are many different places that you can follow. And Aly, since you are, following all these things, you probably already know this, but if you're, interested in finding out information, or if you're feeling helpless and you want to help or you want to do something, there are ways you can do it. We need to use our fear and our sadness and our depression for action. We need to use our dollars, even though we don't have dollars to spend. We need to use what little we do have to support these organizations that are fighting against all the atrocities that are happening in our country that we see every single fucking day. It's abhorrent what we are allowing to happen and how we got this far. And I talk about all the time too, where if you are someone that voted for Trump, we are not Trump supporters here, so I just want to make that very clear. But if you are someone that voted for Trump and you feel like, this is not what you voted for, then come help us. Okay. We don't need the complaints. We don't need the remorse. We need the help. Then come join this, coalition of people that are trying to fight for good things. You can follow a podcast called Vote Save America, or Pod Save America, and votesaveamerica.com is a really wonderful resource to figure out how to call your representatives, how to get involved in your area. This starts locally, and that is why it's so important to me, because I am from a small town. I live in a small town, and it starts locally. And Pawnee is not joking. The writers were not joking about that, as far as how much stuff they can test and get away with here and the lives that it will impact. Okay, so get involved locally, get involved in things that you can tangibly do, meaning, get on these websites and see how you can call, and really look at the logistics of it. If you're calling your Congress member, you don't have to always speak to a Congress member. You can leave a voice message. It's like small stuff like that people don't know. Social media is also really important. If you want to comment on people's, on your senators' social media, there's so many programs out there. Find out who your GD representative is. You know what I mean? You might not know who your representative is. Find out who your rep is, not only at the federal level, but find out who your local leaders are, and make sure you follow them on Instagram, on all your social media. You have their email, whatever you need to do. And it's hard. Being a citizen is hard. It's just, it's not easy to stay involved and to fight for other people. But the lack of empathy that we're seeing in this country at this point is astounding, honestly. Because that's something I've been thinking a lot about too, is that, well, this is the last thing. I know I'm getting on a tangent, but I just feel like you can have privilege and you can have the mindset of working really hard too. It doesn't take one away from the other. So if just because you worked really hard doesn't mean you have privilege. Just because you have privilege doesn't mean you didn't work really hard. You can have both. You can hold both, and you can use that privilege for good. And you can say, like, just because you struggle doesn't mean that someone else should struggle. Okay. So at least that's my philosophy. But yeah, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. So follow Vote Save America, follow Pod Save America. And then they also tag a lot of people, a lot of organizations that fight for, human rights. Follow your ACLU. They have a really good program, of course, and you can always donate money to them, but they also have local chapters as well that you can follow. So thank you for bringing that up, Aly. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope that we can get through these next couple years together. I know that they just defunded the PBS and some other public entertainment. So with our big ugly bill that passed, so I'm just really, it's hard. It's really hard to stay motivated and to stay positive, but we can do this. We have the numbers for good, and take breaks, all that kind of stuff. But I went to the No Kings protest here, and that was really nice too, because like I said, I'm in a smaller town, and the amount of people that showed up, that's what I'm trying to say. The amount of people that showed up were it was great to see. So, let's keep doing that. Thank you. Okay, now let's move up my screen here. Okay, looks like they did the same thing with Leslie, having the mirror to Leslie with Kristen Bell. They did the same with Tom, having Rajiv mirror the Eagleton side. So that was really cool. And then with Anne, she's meeting with Leslie, introducing her to the Eagleton Anne. You can see that Anne is clearly freaking out and being super awkward, so she's about to drop some news, we think, but we don't quite know. Obviously, we sort of kind of maybe know because of what happened with the cliffhanger of last episode. But Evelyn is the Pawnee, or the Eagleton Anne, rather. And she is played by Melinda Cohen. She's been in a ton of stuff. Castle, Shameless, Little Black Lie. She's done a ton of stuff. Looks like a lot of other stuff that I wasn't as familiar with. But she did a great job. Like Madi said, she was very straightforward. I think this actress did a great job too. There was nothing like super mega, caricature-y about her like there is with Tinnifer and Craig. But that, neither is Anne, you know what I mean? So you had to have that level of portrayal. So great work there. I love that they have a challenge for her in Pawnee because they have the first case of mega diabetes. So this is where Anne breaks the news that her and Chris have been talking about leaving Pawnee. And oh my gosh, it's so cute, so precious, that she's prepared with waffles. She just has had them sitting in her lap, I guess. And brings them up. So love both of their performances. Leslie's confusion and trepidation and Anne's firm, just try, just eat it, just try. I love that so much. That was a great little bit. And then Leslie doing all the opposite things. So what I'm hearing is you're not leaving Pawnee. You know what I mean? Is it one of those not jokes? Like I'm leaving Pawnee, not. Oh my God. And I do wonder, I would love to hear a backstory on Anne because wonder why she did move here. She says she has family, in Michigan, other places. So I am curious why Pawnee was where she did end up moving. I don't think we ever got that backstory. So that would be interesting. Leslie is so upset. Oh my gosh. A Biden 6 abs picture on a horse. Oh my God. I don't know why I wrote 6 abs, but I think that's important for the visual. And then Leslie is just acting so sad and upset and childish and turns her chair around, doesn't even pretend to act busy. She just kind of doesn't want to look at Anne. She needs time to absorb this. She's just freaking out. Leslie not understanding at all. With her little talking head of and move to a garbage city with a bunch of jerks. I get it. No hard feelings. I do have to say, oh my gosh, it was so nostalgic to watch this actually because, kind of piggybacking off of what Madi was saying, but I agree. I'm always the one that moves. But when I moved from LA to Nashville, oh Lord, this was tough. It was so hard because I had made my tribe in LA. I love them so much. We still talk to this very day. We're still BFFs. But when I first moved, my friend Chris, who has been on the podcast many times, and like I said, still talk all the time. I definitely got that. She was the Leslie and I was the Anne. I was the Anne moving and she was the Leslie hating on Nashville, saying it was stupid and she hated them. And we did have to have a little bit of a moment. I remember it clearly too. We were at a going away party and at first I was just laughing along like this sucks for all of us. And then I think there was a moment when I was like, oh God, Chris, you have to stop saying that because this is hard for me too. And we had a moment where we're just we're saying these things because we're hurt. She's saying that because, and not just hurt, but sad that we're not going to be together anymore. You know, we've built this great foundation. And so it's a coping mechanism, man. And I'm glad that we reached that point where we could finally, like Leslie and Ann do, you know, be like, ugh, this just sucks and I hate this. But I want to talk about it, I guess, whatever. Because it's just, you know, you have to really have some emotional maturity, and it's hard, and it's not something that you would choose to do. You know what I mean? But that's what you do with friendships that you care about. You have to have some sort of, like, you know, conflict resolution. Not any friendship or relationship is, you know, all great all the time. Like, there will be things that you need to discuss, and that's really important to remember. And you got to talk about it and get through it and work through it. And it's hard and it sucks, but you got to do it. And you might have to, that's what sucks too. You might have to live with the fact that they're going to be upset with you for a little bit. And I'm not saying that's not what happened with Chris. At least I don't know. Maybe it did. I wasn't aware. But I'm saying with other relationships, like, I've been in situations where I just have to accept that they're mad at me for a little bit, or they have to accept that I'm mad at them for a little bit. You know what I mean? And you can work your way back to each other. So you got to process all of that, which is what's happening now. April and Tinniver are having a moment. April is so good at making this character real to be BFFs with Tinny. Tynnie, Tinny. And then they have their nicknames, Slut and Skank. That's so crazy amazing, Les. How did she do this? She just sunk into that character so well. I love it so much. Which reminds me of when she was doing phone banking. That's one of my favorite April things, Aubrey Plaza things, is when she is talking to the, like, Hispanic girl, I guess, and is like, mira, look, it don't matter. You just, like, $10, it don't matter. And and how she did with the Southern girl too, that I guess apparently I all thought they were all girls on the phone, but they didn't actually show the people she was speaking to. But when she said, it's like my Grammy always says, you know, all those different characters. Love that they've given Aubrey Plaza that chance to run free. Love that. So anyway, Leslie is projecting and is like, I want someone to commit. Okay, Eagleton people, you have to be in it for the long haul. And she kind of spirals, as per Leslie. Donna and Craig are working together, and Craig goes nuts because on Donna's behalf, which is, you know, like I said, is if you're going to go nuts, doing it on someone else's behalf is really sweet, I feel. So I guess that's good. It is a little weird, but I guess that's good. So it's Kentucky bluegrass versus Bermuda grass. Craig mentions the Beaufort scale, which is a system for measuring wind force. So I needed to look that up because I wasn't as sure. It's measures wind force based on visual observations of its effects. So it ranges from 0, which is calm, to 12, which is a hurricane, and Pawnee is a 6. So they're right in the middle. And they're saying that Kentucky bluegrass versus Bermuda grass would make a world of difference with this wind development that we now know as a 6. Side note, this Beaufort system was developed by Sir Francis Beaufort in 1805, and it's still used today to estimate wind speed and its impact on the environment. So, okay, Craig knowing some shit, man. All right. And then this is where Madi talked about in her summary where Donna's like, is there some medication that you're on or maybe not on that you need? Like, is there something that we can do for you? He says it's called caring too much, okay? Also, I have eczema. I love that. That was so funny. So then we learn that Ron and Ron are actually very different, okay? Eagleton Ron is the hippie version of Pawnee Ron. He's a vegan. He loves composting, but he does like nature, which, you know, regular Ron likes too. Freakin' vegan is what he is. So I thought that they went together. I thought that you have to be a vegan by being a freegan, and you have to be a freegan by being a vegan. But technically, freeganism is technically its own separate thing from veganism, but they can be combined. So this was started in the mid-1990s. Freeganism is minimizing consumerism, reducing waste by utilizing discarded items. In many cases, though, freegans actually critique vegans by arguing that vegans ignore the environmental and labor impacts of the products they buy and corporate ownership of many vegan product lines. So I was thinking maybe it was more like restaurants throwing away stuff and freegans eating that, but it seems like it's all waste, like all things in trash cans. So there is a spectrum and everything. So some freegans associate themselves with the with the back to landers and something called anarcho-primitivism, which is asserting that human beings should reject not only capitalism but civilization itself. With some exceptions, though, veganism is a largely urban or suburban phenomenon. Some vegans avoid buying, consuming, using, and wearing animal products as an act of protest against animal exploitation. Freegans, at least in theory, avoid buying anything as an act of protest. And it's against the food system and capitalism and all that kind of stuff in general. So that's your little breakdown on freegan vegan. Ron's face at communal living is so funny. He just kind of has this blank, like, mad stare when Eagleton Ron says everyone pitches in. Oh dear. And in theory, I do like this idea. Of being having a house like with your friends and you all like take turns making dinner, and it's kind of like a retirement area, like that seems kind of nice. And then there's all like these activities and stuff that you can be a part of, and you all take care of each other. I saw on TikTok, I love the philosophical side of TikTok where it's like everybody they were talking about the school supplies. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. We got to stop getting mad at teachers for asking them to supply your schools. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay. Anyway, like, I get it. Being a parent is really expensive, but you also understand that, your kids do not have a nice place to learn without these teachers. Okay. We have to all chip in. And the thing that I saw on TikTok, which is where I'm getting to, is that everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. Ooh, that hit me. So, okay. Moving on. So Leslie asks if new Ron would be willing to take a loyalty pledge. And Ron no longer likes Ron. A little bit of a mirror back to the I like Ron. I no longer like Ron. Sad. So Tom makes up the fact that Eric is bad and trashy and has a bad attitude because Leslie hasn't met this Eric. So she thinks that Tom is being a good guy by, taking care of all of this for her. Sleazy Tom is coming back a tiny bit. If you've been with us for a while, season 1 and 2 Tom, where we called him Sleazy Tom because he was pretty terrible. He's coming in a little bit, but also I do get it a tiny bit. That he doesn't want his job to go away. And yeah, to Maddie's point, like, it would be nice if he kind of took this opportunity to be like, oh, maybe I can do a little bit more of the entrepreneurial thing. But I think at this point, he's so freaked out about not having his store anymore because of the Sapersteins ruining his life and doing everything that they can to get all the money and take away his profit. So I'm sure that Tom is thinking in his head, like, oh shit, I need a backup plan. And the Parks has always been my backup plan, So if that goes away, then I'm fucked. You know what I mean? Okay. I love Jennifer and April taking selfies or pictures of each other in the background while we're talking about Eric. That was a really fun little tidbit. I love that kind of documentary style to just be reminded of that. So now we're back with Ben and Chris doing the budget. Eagleton had 400 Segway scooters. Oh dear me. Sell them. They're gone, says Ben. And this is where I had my note of, there he is. I needed strict Ben. Hello. There he is. Chris does celebratory lunges. Ben's just used to it. He's kind of just like, whatever. While the Eagleton people are staring at Chris, Ben's like, yeah, dude, I'm used to this. This is what he does. And now Leslie is talking to Donna. And Donna is shocking Leslie because she's saying Craig might actually care about this job more than Leslie. And that Donna could leave. Like, she has a condo in Seattle, the fiance in Denver. It won't last. I love that. And this makes Larry go even more insane because Jerry Larry says that he could go back into retirement if it would help. And Leslie's like, what? Even Jerry Larry wants to leave? Okay, so now we know that she is crashing out. And Anne walks in, knows she's spiraling. And Leslie kind of lashes out at her, which is a terrible moment. Leslie says she'll have to watch the Oscars alone because Ben is a terrible person to watch the Oscars with. He had, I quote, no comment. How do you not have a comment about that? On one of the people's wardrobe malfunctions. And yeah, she's being so cold and rude to Anne, and it just, it hurts Anne's feelings. I will say Chris did not do this to me. This is heightened, that's for sure. And she hadn't even talked to Anne about it, and she's just like, again, she's just treating this emotionally immaturely, and I get it. They're both acting in character at this point, but it just sucks. So she makes a loyalty contract, and it looks so ridiculous, so hefty. Like, Leslie, you cannot control people, honey. This is a part of it. It sucks. But I think she had such a vision of where her life was going to be, and Anne was always a part of that. So now it's just like the world is crashing down around her because she doesn't have the consistent in Anne that she's going to have anymore, or that she thinks of. Because she thinks she's doing this all or nothing thinking, because Anne's can still be a part of her life. It's just going to be different now, Oh. In this commitment, she has a 50-year commitment, and then she literally calls it a friendship contract, not an employment, like government work contract. So clearly she is blurring lines here. This is where Ron says other Ron's yerba mate tea is smelling bad, but that little cup is so funny looking and cute, I thought. And it's sweetened with stevia. And Pawnee Ron says, shut your damn mouth. No need to curse. There most certainly is. Love this. So Eagleton people are invited into the conference room now, where she made yellow and blue cookies in the name of unity, but she did not have yellow dye, so she had to use mustard with sugar. Sugar mustard. Ron doesn't eat sugar. Eagleton Ron doesn't anyway, so he's not going to eat that. And then, Leslie's just trying to force all this friendship. Like, oh, she's so hurt. She's clearly like getting delusional, where she's like, do you think it'd be weird if we held hands? Best friends, attack Ron. Oh, poor Leslie, but also get it together. So Ben and Chris are winding down the day, and they're so precious, having a celebratory dinner just like the old days. Chris is going to use Ben to calculate tax and tip. Love that. Nostalgia. Then we see that somehow April and Tinnifer got lawn chairs and nail people somehow in the courtyard. Who did they hire? So they're getting their nails and toes done. And this is where we find out that Tinnifer has a husband in jail, which is a really fun detail. April is trying to talk her out of taking this job. And Tinnifer doesn't even really put up a fight. She doesn't even say anything about like, no, I want this, which again is in character. Super fun. And she tells Tinnifer to go to Dwayne Wade's house. Or at least we learn that it is Dwayne Wade's house. April says she has a house in Miami that she could totally hang out with or hang out in, rather. I love this. The gate kind of jams sometimes, but you can just jump it. That's honestly kind of brilliant. I mean, April is an evil genius. She really is. It is brilliant. So Leslie's talking to Ron, and this is such a special moment. Leslie sees this as a betrayal, which, in her head it is. And, Ron is trying to help her see that this is hard, and you might feel betrayed, but you do need to talk about it. You can't force friendship, and if you're as close as you have been saying and thinking that you are, you'll get through this. And I love this little zoom out too, that Eagleton Ron is there the whole time. And he's like doing yoga, essentially, like meditating. I love that. And this is where Leslie sadly tells Eagleton Ron that there's no room for him. And I really love this, though. I think that Eagleton Ron is probably my most favorite one, just because it was such a similar. It shows how people can be so similar and so different at the same time, but they have more similarities than not. It's just that the things that they disagree on are life-changing for them. So he is really the mirror. Like, he even has a deep poetic saying, like our Ron has deep poetic sayings. I love this line: giving in to hate is like drinking salt water. The thirst only grows worse. Which, I mean, oof, that is a great line to live by for people that are just spewing hate right now. Think about that, The thirst only grows worse. I love this astrology moment that he has. Taurus and Capricorns never mix. Love that so much. So Eric is now replaced with Tom. town-wide organizational matrix, and Tom has made sure that Eric will no longer be a part of Pawnee. So we've definitely got, all the Eagleton people dropping like flies. We're getting them out. We're weeding them out. Craig and Donna are BFFs now. They both love Scandal, and Craig says, "I love you." I just love the intensity is with love. You know what I mean? Intense love. I love that he runs into Tom and is like, "Who even are you?" I really still think that he was protecting Donna in that moment. And I love how much Craig loves her. It's so cute. So Chris and Ben are now at dinner. Chris's salad is basically just cheese, gummy worms, and gumballs, which I cannot believe that would be on a menu. But honestly, I can believe it at the same time. Chris has a really sincere moment here when Ben says this part was depressing, kind of, because he was always so tired after auditing and he felt like he was just kind of drained. But I love that, Chris points out that it might be a different reason. It's, yeah, sure, maybe it was because of that, but also now they have Anne and Leslie and people who they want to go back home to and full lives, not just running from town to town and motel to motel watching Twin Peaks. It just makes a difference to have someone to fill out your life and to go home to. So I love that. And I think it's really sincere for Ben to be reminded of that too. Because sometimes when you get stuck in nostalgia, you get stuck in the good things and the bad things, and you kind of think like, okay, well, since we're in this moment of nostalgia, things are essentially could be the same in a way. But I love that Chris pointed out that it's just, we're in a different phase of our life now. Also, side note, when he talks about Twin Peaks, I wanted to mention there's a fun fact that JJ of JJ's Diner, Brent Briscoe is the actor's name, rest in peace. He was in Twin Peaks. So I really hope that Adam Scott actually really liked Twin Peaks, or somebody on set really, I think that there were crew members and cast that liked Twin Peaks. So I hope that the people that were fans of that show got to talk to Brent Briscoe about it before he passed. That's so cool. So Chris says, they're thinking of moving, and Ben has a nice mature moment reminiscing about how long they've come. Definitely more of a mature moment between Chris and Ben. But, lady relationships are so important and vital. And Amy Poehler talks about this all the time on her podcast too. They're such a great resource. And so sometimes it's just deeper when your female friends have different life stories than you. And when they have to move away, and, it's just like it's such a deep connection, and it's such a deep, oh my gosh, just experience to live through and with and everything. And I know that I'm going on a tangent, but I just love my lady friends. So I just want to make that clear that that's why Leslie and Anne are having such trouble with this, because Leslie just reveres Anne. So Leslie now is having a wonderful moment. Love this so much. She's saying her speech to Anne about how she's really just scared and wants to talk about this. But I love that she's talking to fake Anne. Oh my gosh, the zoom outs of the camera were awesome in this episode with, fake Ron or Eagleton Ron. And then we've got fake Anne. I love that so much. 6 hours well spent. I love that. And I think, like I said, that this fake Anne did a great job of I guess so. I don't really know this person that you're talking about, so I guess it was good. Well done. So Leslie says she's ready to talk about this to real Anne when real Anne comes in. Oh my gosh, this gets me so emotional. At the end, them sitting together in her office, which is that green park chair bench thing. And, that's where she discussed her future with Mark about the pit. So cute and deep and meaningful. And that green bench with both of them sitting on it, because that's how they became friends, was the pit, and how Anne wanted the pit filled. And that green bench was where Leslie was like, yo, I'm going to do this for real. And I'm going to make shit happen. And now that's reversed, where Anne might leave Leslie on this same green bench that Mark left Leslie. It's just a moment. And I loved it. Okay, you guys. Well, that was it. And that was a long one because we had so many wonderful guest stars. Thank you so much to everyone who came on this episode. Aly, thank you. I love that so much. Kelly, Poonam, Jason, Allan, thank you. And thank you to these people's agents. I know that the agents might not listen to this, but I want to say thank you to the agents that forwarded my message onto them. That is incredible, and I'm so grateful because not every agent messages back. Surprise, surprise. So thank you all for being here. You have made this episode so wonderful. So we'll see you next time. We have a guest next episode, surprise guest, and then we'll just keep on keeping on. And like I said, I'll post some more resources as well as to where you can follow and support people. Get educated, get as educated as you can. Like I said, this is really hard, so you will probably have to research a lot and just fact check some shit because that's what's happening. But we can do this. Stay in community, keep talking about it, work hard to really be not around people that have differing views than you, but to talk to them. Sometimes, obviously, that's different for everyone. Sometimes it's not safe, so, use your best judgment, but we can do this, I think. And I'm sad as well, and I'm depressed and tired too. This is hard for anyone, but we've got to try. We've got to try, you guys. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Hope you guys have a good weekend, whenever you're listening. Bye.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.